Welcome to our first episode of Co-Founders. I am Alex Mont-Roses and my beautiful wife. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
And I'm Lisa Mont-Roses.
So, why are you here? And it's a great question to ask. What you're going to get out of this episode or this show or this podcast is, in essence, I don't know. I'm going to redo that one. So the reason you're here today is, and what you're going to get out of this podcast, we run a business as a married couple, and we know that there's plenty of people out there either running a business as a married couple or running a business with another family member, significant other, and so on. And there's a lot of experiences that I think need to be shared. And how do we build a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, business owners that can come together and really learn from one another, from their challenges, their failures, and their successes. So that's kind of what this show's about. What do you think, Lisa? Anything to add?
I think the main reason we wanted to do this is that we've actually met a ton of people we're in the real estate industry, but we've met people in different industries that run businesses together as a couple, and it's been interesting to hear their journey and the challenges that they faced. And we know some people who have failed at it. We know people who have succeeded. And I think we just wanted to be able to share that journey with people and kind of to let you know you're not alone.
Right.
Because it's different. It's a struggle. It's not like anything
struggle.
you've ever
Is
done.
Is the struggle real?
Hashtag
struggle real. I like it. Now, I think when we floated this idea around to a lot of our friends that ran businesses together, they're really excited. They're like, yes, we want to share because we have a story to tell.
Right.
Would you say that it's a struggle all the time?
I think that depends on your definition of struggle.
Okay. All right.
No, it's not. It's just trying to find the balance so that the business doesn't overrun your personal life.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest challenge, and that's what creates the struggle, is so that the business doesn't take over.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it could be like Stranger Things. Remember with that blob thing coming in and taking over?
It's nothing like Stranger Things.
No, nothing like that? No? Okay. Anyhow, back to the point. So today we want to share a little bit of our backstory and how did we come to be, one, as a married couple, family, and business owners. And so we'll share some insight on how we got to where we're at. And I'd like to share my story first, kind of background, right? Originally from Las Vegas, moved out here after the crash, was in the real estate industry, and started working for a real estate firm in the Bellevue, Washington area. And now my beautiful wife, Lisa, well, at the time was an escrow agent or rep. What did you call it? Escrow?
Title rep. Sales rep.
Is it title rep?
Yeah, title rep.
Okay. For a local, no, national. I mean, Commonwealth was.
We were local.
It was local.
Yeah.
And she'd always come in and bother me and want to take me out for lunch and whatnot. I'm kidding. You didn't bother me. Actually, I enjoyed it. So over the course of from 2009 to 2012, I was married at the time. Ended up going through a divorce in 2010, and it just so happened to be right after that time frame, Lisa and I it was another escrow agent type of lunch kind of outing. And this is a funny question. No, actually you asked. Did I ask the question or you asked the question? I asked you out.
You asked.
But, and by the way, you were not married at the time, so we need to clarify that.
At that point.
There was none of that going on. But she always had this rule that she would not date clients, which I thought was funny. And we were joking about that. And all of a sudden I asked her during lunch, I said, well, when are we going to go on a date? And she
laughed.
You laughed.
I laughed.
You laughed in my face. You laughed at me.
Because I thought it was a joke.
But it wasn't a joke.
I
know. And she said yes, surprisingly. And now we're here 6 years later. No, that's 8 years now, right? Yeah, 8 years later. So we dated a year and a half, 2 years almost, give or take. And got married in 2013. Married 6 years, March. And we have a blended family. So we have a family of 5 kids. The oldest will be 18 this year. That was from my previous marriage, 18. I also have a son that was 15, Lisa, daughter, and our daughter now, 13 years old. She just turned, and now Lisa and I have two little ones, a 5-year-old Lillian and 3-year-old little Winston. So we are a busy, busy, busy household. So how did we get to business, though, with all that? We were going through a lot.
We have been through a lot.
We've been through a lot. We've lived like the lives of like a 100-year-old. It's crazy.
That's why I'm 41, and some days I feel like I look 50. How we got to business. So Alex was working in the corporate world, and I was selling real estate and trying to sell real estate and manage sort of getting married and a blended family, and a lot of interesting challenges along the way. It just wasn't really conducive to our lives, and I really had a desire to be home with the kids and to take care of them. So I resigned from selling real estate, but I also am a busybody, and spending 2 months being home with the kids, I could no longer carry on an adult conversation, and I felt like my brain had stopped working, so I had to go back to work. So I ended up doing just transaction coordination on the side as a side business, and I did that for a couple of years and a couple of babies along the way there. That's when the last 2 came. And at one point, Alex was taking some classes for his master's in marketing. I think it was a marketing class.
Or MBA.
Yeah. And he had to do an assignment for a marketing plan for a business, and he asked his professor if he could do my very cute little transaction coordination business.
Lisa Mont-Roses Transactions.
Yeah, it was Lisa Mont-Roses Transaction Coordinating. It was very simple. And he did a business plan for that and realized how much of a need there was in the market for what I did. And there was just a high demand. And so we ended up forming a company out of it. And Moncord was born on April 20th. And I will also throw in there that our 5th child was born on May 20th that year. Yeah. So it was an interesting journey that first summer, because we had really 2 brand new babies. One of them we knew what to do with, because we had 4 other ones that we had raised, but one of them we really didn't know what to do with.
Yeah.
It was sort of our accidental baby.
It was. And it was, looking back, right, in 2016, the opportunity to build a company that can meet the need within the real estate industry was exciting. I think we, I don't know if we counted the full cost of starting a company together up front. I don't know. I actually don't know. And when I say the cost, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not just monetary, but everything else included. But it's I don't know if anybody really can count the cost of starting a company. And let's throw in the fact that if you are a married couple doing it together, you can have some assumptions of how things are going to be, and then all of a sudden you realize it's either some of it plays out the way you thought it was going to, and other things don't. Right? What are some things? What do you think from what we've learned in 3 years, from like an assumption perspective, that maybe we missed the mark?
I feel like you have an answer to that question.
I don't.
So we're the way that we run our business. We both have sort of our role in business. Mm-hmm. Like I run operations, you run business development. And so they're 2 very different roles. I think one of the things where we miss the mark is that, and I think we still sometimes do, is that they're not segmented that easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They definitely overlap. And so I think sometimes we step on each other's toes, because what you're doing sort of bleeds into what I do, and what I do bleeds into what you do. And I know me personally, I'm very defensive, and I protect what I do very closely. And when I get advice from someone who doesn't do what I do, I think I get very defensive. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the things that I think we still haven't quite figured out is, how do you bleed your 2 roles together without stepping on each other's toes? Mm-hmm. We do a really good job of it, but there are times when we can't.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think that would be one thing.
So, and for the audience, the company we started, it's called Moncord Real Estate Professional Services. And in essence, what we do for the real estate industry is we provide transaction coordination, listing coordination services for real estate agents, whether they're in the residential field, commercial. We just started supporting business brokers. And we also have some ancillary services like, strategic and coaching consulting. I know it's funny. You're gonna laugh. We have an inside joke on that. But anyhow, so anyhow, we started with what, like, just give you guys some context. We started with, 10 maybe clients when you were starting?
About 10. And I think it's important to share sort of the beginning of our journey, because I think that's where some of it, where it was interesting to just sort of see the journey we've been on. But I think in the beginning I had 10 clients that I worked with, and it just started to grow. But then we launched Montcord and started bringing on new clients, and this is granted, we had a brand new baby, and I love you and I love my husband. He has very high drive. And I remember our little guy was like 2 weeks old, and he tells me he's going to go present at an office and try and get the entire office to use our services. And I remember sitting there holding this 2-week-old baby and watching him walk out the door and go, who's going to do the work? Like, I'm the only employee in this company, and here he's going to sell to a brand new real estate office that had 40 people in it. But I think I needed to trust you more in the sense of it was building the brand. We really built the brand early on of saying,
I don't even think
that's who we were.
We
didn't. But I had this vision of 40 people saying, hey, I want to use your services. And here I am, the only.
Well, we did. But we did have, to be fair, we did have a good friend of ours. Unfortunately, we lost a good friend. Not that he passed, but we did lose a good friend, and now through the process of building the business, because we brought this friend on board thinking that he was excited about our business, wanted to be part of it, and the friendship deteriorated really fast. And that was one thing we learned, like, we cannot bring, like, friendships matter way more than business.
But I think there are some people who are going to be listening to the show that are friends and getting into business together. And I think that's what we realized really early on. We're not leaving each other. We're married, we're tied together. Mm-hmm. We've been through some struggles, and some of this has been hard. When you bring a friend into it, you don't have the same connection to them. So that's unfortunately why that friendship no longer is because we didn't have that tight connection. And when things got rocky with the business relationship, they also got rocky on the personal relationship. Yeah. And so I think that's an important thing for our listeners to note also, is that it is different when you're married versus when you're just friends, because you don't want our marriage is more important. Mm-hmm. Whereas maybe the business supersedes the friendship.
Right.
So it sort of depends, and it's easier to sever a friendship than it is to sever a marriage. That sounds harsh, but it does. But it is true, though. Like, I think it is kind of cold. But you hear people all the time who are friends that run a business together, and then they're no longer friends.
Right.
Because the business superseded.
Probably happens more often than could a business, divorce a married couple. There's probably those stories out there. But I think more often you hear the friendships going away. I've seen probably countless times in my life that I've seen that play out, and we went through it too.
Right.
So we got really keen on, okay, if we bring somebody on, or we've had a lot of friends actually come to us and be like, hey, we want to be part of your company. We always weigh, and we're like, the friendships, I don't think a lot of times people understand what they're going to walk into. They don't get it.
Well, and I think that's it, is that they don't see. They think they're going to come in and it's going to be a normal 8-hour work day, like a normal job, and running a business is not. It's not.
Yeah. So from that 40, and I know that caused you a lot of pain, and we did have support, by the way, what we thought we did, but that went away really quick. So I want to be clear. I know we see things differently, but it's okay. So the business grew little by little in that first year. That first year was extremely, extremely hard. It
was really hard, and to talk about how that impacted our relationship, because I think it did that year. And I think one of the defining moments for me, it was probably 3 or 4 months into the business. I remember going out, and I remember when we were driving there, we were like, okay, we are not going to talk about Montcord tonight. We're not going to talk about Montcord. And we sat there and were silent for like 45 minutes. See, and I warned, I cry. Oh, it's so annoying. But for 45 minutes, we said nothing.
Yeah.
So
And now we're talking.
So we got over it. But it was hard.
Yes. Yeah. It was very hard. And I think, I mean, the dynamic of having the kids, having the newborn, I mean, it was a perfect storm that first year. And I don't know how, I mean, by the grace of God, I don't even know how we're even here now, in the sense of like either the business collapsing or anything, even the marriage, right? To some, and thankfully not. But through then year one, we built up, we closed 500 transactions year one, which, come to think about it now, it's like, that's nothing.
No, it seemed like a big deal.
It was a big deal back then. And, here's the funny thing. When we started our business, remember, we had so many people doubting. I think that's what drove, at least me, was I wanted to prove that we had actually a pretty decent idea, that we could execute on it and prove those people wrong. We had a lot of people even close to us, hey, well, you should sell real estate. Why are you doing that? Even your name doesn't, it doesn't even resonate with transaction coordination. Why Moncord? All these things. And we knew why we were doing it. And I think we were very confident in the approach. And sure enough, it played out very well, in the sense of we stayed true to that, right? We didn't listen to the naysayers. We didn't listen to those folks that doubted us, because, they were trying to place, and I wholeheartedly believe it, their limitations. If you think about what we were trying to build, it was a company. We weren't just doing a job. We were trying to build a company, and we were building a company, and that's not easy.
But I think you hit on something there, is that people do place their limitations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 100%. Where they think their max is, they think everybody else's max should be also.
Right.
And I think that's why we got a lot of that from people.
Yeah, and it was fuel. At least for me it was. Yeah. Because it was fuel just to be to not give up, right? When we could have easily folded, probably a couple times. We could have easily folded. And then year two, we got our legs. We started getting some employees, which was a really big step, right? Employees.
I remember the first month that payroll was like $10,000, and I was like, we have a payroll of $10,000 a month.
Yeah, that was a big deal to us, looking back. And then, year two ended, we grew the business by, I think it was about 100%. Or 150, it was like something like that, 150%, give or take. Yeah. And then going into year three, another big, huge growth spurt that we're in now. And we've broken all of our records, and we've worked with over those clients that are with us, those clients that are no longer with us. We probably are over 400 clients, well over 400 to 500 clients over the course of 3 years. And we've seen thousands of transactions. It's pretty, I think, and I commend you, because you've kicked butt. Like, you've taken on way more than any human should. It's been a journey. Welcome to the Optimizer segment. This is Alex Mont-Roses, and I want to touch base on today. Okay, I got this. Welcome to the Optimizer segment of the episode. One thing I want to touch on today, or what we're going to give you some tips and tricks. I don't know if I like to use tricks, but how do you optimize your time if you're a business owner with a family and so on, to better be spent on those things that matter for you, your business, your family, and so on. So this is specific to the real estate industry, and it's going to touch on, in essence, the gig economy, which I think there's a lot of optimizing that can happen if you can leverage your time, resources in pulling in people from that, let's call it the gig economy. So if you're a real estate agent and you have not yet hired a transaction coordinator, and you are looking to build your business, it's going to be critical to leverage somebody that can take, on average 20 to 30 hours of administrative work off of your plate, and at the same time paying them at a per transaction basis, where if you hire somebody in-house to do that same work, you're going to be paying them, the overhead, paying them on a monthly basis, and you're going to have to keep them managed and productive, right? So that might not be the best use of your time and money. So rather than hire somebody in-house, delegate that out, leverage a coordinator that you can hire on from a per transaction basis, and it will save you a tremendous amount of time and money and get you back focused on what matters most to you. And with that tip, let's get back to the show. What, as we kind of look at the origin of Moncord, and we look at like counting the costs, we talked about that a little bit. What do you think? What do you think are some things what are some big lessons learned from running the company versus, let's just put it there. Like what is the biggest lesson learned that you think, you've learned over the last 3 years? Forget year 1, year 2. Like in its whole, in the whole time we've been together.
Just entirety?
Mm-hmm.
From a perspective of our relationship, or from a perspective
let's touch on both. Yeah, relationship, and let's touch relationship first and then the business.
I think being in business with someone that you're in a relationship with, I think the biggest lesson I've learned is staying in communication.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, you have to speak up.
Yeah.
Like when something doesn't feel right, you have to speak up. When it feels right, you have to speak up. You also have to you have to acknowledge wins and losses with each other.
Yeah.
Like you have to be a team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I would say there. Biggest lesson for me overall with the business is learning to give up control and to not hang on to everything. And I'm still learning that.
Yes.
It's hard because when you give up that control, we're human beings, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody makes mistakes.
Right.
When you give up control, all of a sudden you have to own other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
If they make a mistake, it's yours to own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the hardest part for me. And what I'm still learning how to do is how to delegate.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, the good news is I know we're about to wrap, but that's why I asked you the question.
Oh, you have time, and I know you can talk.
So really quick. Okay, relationship-wise, what I've learned in 3 years is pressing, like the amount of pressing forward needs to be accounted. I mean, I need to account for the fact that I'm pressing another human being forward as well. And I need to be aware of the limitations of somebody else, because we're yoked together, right? We're like the ox going together. And if one of us is here, we need to both be aligning ourselves continually. So it's always calibrating where we're currently at, within our family, within our mental state, all that, so that to know when to press and when not to press, right? To move forward. That's been a big, big, big learning curve for me. And it's been good. It's created a lot of patience and things and self-control and all that within our relationship. I think on the business front is what I've learned in 3 years is that I go back to the limitation and sky's the limit kind of thing, is that I really believe we can achieve so much together, right? And that's in the sense of like when both of us are aligned on the business front, there's no stopping us. And that's been a really cool journey to be a part of with you. And with that said, I hope, as you listen to this episode, if you are in the journey with your spouse and you're looking to continue to build your business, our encouragement is, to remember that, staying aligned and keeping focused on the goal without breaking, each other and whether it's emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is, family-wise, needs to always be accounted for as you keep moving forward, and having the wherewithal to keep pressing and encouraging everybody out there that, or if you're thinking about going into the business, to know that you're in for a ride. You're in for a ride, and be ready but have your goals set and don't give up, because what's on the flip side of things can be really great. And I think we're walking into that.
I think we're coming through the hardest part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Every time I say that, though,
Yeah, it's a new challenge.
something else happens. But it's different challenges. They're bigger challenges, I guess.
Yeah.
Like every challenge we faced has been bigger than the one before.
Right.
And I guess that means we're on the right track.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
You think?
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. And we'll edit out that last wrap up.
No, I'm keeping it.
Okay, good. I like it. Okay, good. Okay.
We're just keeping whatever it is.
Okay.
So thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week on Co-Founder Friday.
Awesome.
Subscribe, or you're like my kids. Subscribe down below.